This is Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, a podcast and radio program presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan. Most any contemporary musical style can trace its roots back to the blues. Time Signatures explores the blues and its musical connections with captivating interviews, lively discussions, and news from the world of the blues.
You know I'm trying, baby, driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
And now, here he is, your host, Jim Ervin.
Well, thank you, Parker, and welcome to Time Signatures. I'm your host, Jim Ervin, and today's special guest is one of my local favorites. If I was to list off all of her accolades, I dare say we'd probably fill up a good portion of the episode doing just that. So let's cherry pick just a little bit of the best here. In 2017, she took first place in the International Songwriting Competition. She won the 2017 Blues Blast Music Awards for Best Soul and Blues Album. She was awarded a star on the Canada South Blues Museum Walk of Fame. She is the recipient of more than 30, count them, 30 Detroit Music Awards. In 2023, she took home the Soul Blues Female Artist Award at the BMAs in Memphis, Tennessee. And in 2015, she was proclaimed Detroit's Queen of the Blues, singer, songwriter, and as of this past winter, cast member of the rock opera Bark of Millions, Thornetta Davis. It's a pleasure to have you here on Time Signatures. How are you?
I'm good, Jay. Thank you so much, Jay. That was nice. It's been a very busy 2024 so far, but yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, fantastic. You know, I take great pride in writing my introductions, but I have to tell you, there's so many accolades to choose from that I really did have to take some time and choose the best of the best. You've really done well, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I've been at it for a while, over 30 years now. So people just know me and they like me. I appreciate all of that, you know.
Absolutely. You know, I know the BMA last year was a huge honor for you, Thornetta. Talk about that for just a minute.
Oh, so much. I was nominated 9 times. And so when I didn't get it all of those times, I really didn't expect it this last time. And James was the one that encouraged me to go because I was just going to stay home, you know, and just chill. And then he goes, well, you know, I think this might be the year because I had done a lot of the festivals where all of the voters might attend.
Sure.
And I said, well, okay, it's a good thing. You get to interact with people and they give you a room and you have a nice meal and it's fun. And so I said, well, we'll go. And then as they're calling the names of the nominees, I'm looking up at the screen thinking, yes, now here we go again. He says, get ready. And I'm like, no, it's not going to happen. What are you talking? And then they named the nominees, and the winner is Thornetta Davis. And I went, what? And it was so surreal that I sat there for a couple of seconds, and one of the people at the table said, that means you got to get up.
That's you. You're Thornetta.
It seemed like that stage was so far away, but I ran.
And you got up there and you sang, I Believe.
Oh, yeah. I just, you know, I was overwhelmed. It was a beautiful experience, and everybody was so happy for me there. So, yeah.
I have to tell you, there's a lot of people that I've talked to. One of them is Detroit's Prince of the Blues. Just talked to him not too long ago, and he was over the moon because we talked to him just about the time that you had won the award, and Chris was just over the moon about you finally winning, and it was such a cool honor.
Yeah, I love Chris.
Well, listen, go ahead.
Yeah, he's been coming to see me since he was a youngster with his mom.
I wanted to add, I'm sorry to cut anybody off, but
no, get in there, buddy.
We were there when Chris had went to the IBCs, and he made it to the final round.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he did.
And I seen him put on an award-winning performance, but he didn't win, but his performance was a great performance.
Oh, yes.
He should have won because of his performance, but Yeah, Chris he's a power to be reckoned
Yes,
with.
he is.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Matter of fact, this Saturday, going down to Burt's in the D, going to go see Lady Champagne, and I know that they've got a couple blues artists from Chicago that are going to be there, and Chris is going to be there as well. So I'm looking
Okay.
forward to
Yeah.
that.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
That'd be
So I'm
nice.
kind of now
I
I've
didn't
kind
know.
of dated the show, but that's okay. Before we get too far into this discussion, first of all, we have to introduce your husband, James. He is ever present on the stage for every show that I've been to. And I love the chemistry between these two. They have such a good time when they're up there. And it really, really transfers to the crowd when you guys are performing together. It's a wonderful experience to watch you guys play.
Yeah, personally, I feel that God put us together, and because we both met each other later on in our lives. We didn't get married till I was 45, and he was
117.
yeah. It was that we think God's got a funny sense of humor because we had known of each other 20 years prior. He was the
Wow.
dude in the shows, and that was it. We would see each other in passing. We were both in relationships that just didn't work. And eventually, when we were ready, we came together. Yeah.
And the rest,
One
as they
day,
say, is history, right?
yes, yes. I was just going to add. One day, I asked Thornetta to perform in a concert, and she agreed and didn't tell me, or we didn't talk about price or a
Not
fee,
yet.
price of fee, and then
That was coming.
and I got to thinking, Thornetta, yeah,
He asked
yeah.
me the next time we saw each other after that. He asked me out.
There you
And I was
go.
like, really?
Yeah.
Okay. He was under scrutiny because I've been through some things.
Sure, sure.
I don't know if y'all noticed, but there's a halo over my head in this picture.
He thinks he's an angel.
It's real.
He's
Well,
mine.
listen, before we get too far into this discussion, Thornetta, I've got to bring you back here for just a minute, and I want to ask you about your recent adventure with Bark of Millions. Now,
Oh, yeah.
I followed you, girl. I was watching you scoot across the globe, and tell the story. How did this come about, man? What was the experience like taking your skills to the stage like that?
Working with Taylor Mack is a magical experience. I always call it. When I met him 8 years ago, he had come to the Ann Arbor, Michigan area, and he asked somebody, "Do you know of two powerhouse singers, some real soulful voices?" And that was for his previous show, the 24-hour 24 Decades of Popular Music.
Okay.
And the segment that I was in is actually a part of a 24-hour show that he put on in New York. He got me and a young lady from Detroit named Stephanie Christian. And when we showed up, we just were doing covers of old soul music of 60 songs. And we were singing background, and he had us do some lead vocals on a couple of the songs. And we didn't know what we were setting ourselves up for. We just were rehearsing. We all had on our regular clothes. And then we asked him what he wanted us to wear. He said, "Just look fabulous." And so that's what me and Stephanie did. We brought our fabulous outfit. But when it came for showtime, Taylor walked out from the back of the stage, and he was like 7-inch heels, full drag. He had on a dress that had Campbell soup cans all over because
Oh,
Machine
wow.
Downstairs works like that.
Sure.
And we looked at him, and then we looked at each other and said, "Okay, this that kind of party. Well, let's go." And it's been a whirlwind ever since. And after
Wow.
24 decades, he started putting together the Bark of Millions. And he'd been working on that for years too. And he always wanted to do a show dedicated to the historical people in the gay community. And so all of the songs is 55 songs about 55 different people.
Wow.
The show lasts 4 hours. And there's a number of singers, like I can't remember, like 10, 12, makes a lot of singers in this show. And we all do songs that he wrote. Him and Matt Ray wrote together. And all of the songs are dedicated to a particular person.
Wow. That's something, if I ever get a chance to see, I would love to see
Oh
it.
yeah, you got to. It's nonstop. He talks about you're in charge of your own bladder because this show is going to keep on going for 4 hours until we're done. Yep,
Wow. Definitely something to see.
it
Well,
is.
Thornetta, living in the Detroit area was obviously a great place for the seeds of the blues to get planted. But
Mhm.
how did it begin for you? And at what point did you know that this was the path you were going to take?
Let's see. In 1986 or 7,
Okay.
I was a young mom on welfare, but I always wanted to sing. And I had started going down to the east side of Detroit to this jam session. And there was a band there called the Mont Zodiac and the Love Signs.
Okay.
Um, and I was listening, they were singing soul songs that I had been raised up listening to. And I just started singing background in the audience. And one of the band members told them that she's a good singer. You need to get her up here. And so they called me up on stage. They said, do you know any blues? And I knew one blues song, and that was Stormy Monday. Because prior to that, I was R&B, top 40 R&B, Anita Baker,
Sure.
Whitney Houston, all of that, with a girl group called Chanteuse. And they said, well, I said, I know Stormy Monday. And so they played Stormy Monday, and I did that. And then every time I showed up, the audience would say, let the girl sing. And then I kept doing Stormy Monday. And then one day, the leader of the band asked me to do a gig with them. And he goes, you know, and at the end, we didn't have any people in that gig. After it was over, we had about 20, 30 people maybe. And he goes, okay, either you could take this amount of money that I promised you, or you could take this very low amount of money and be a part of the band. And I didn't have a gig. I didn't have any job. And I was like,
Sure.
I get to sing for and get paid? Yes. And I was with that band for 10 years. They called themselves, after I joined, they called themselves the Thornetta Davis and the Chisel Brothers. The Chisel Brothers featuring Thornetta Davis. And that's when I became a blues singer. They said,
Wow.
we do top 40, we do soul and blues.
I remember seeing that.
And yeah, they wanted to call me Girl Thornetta. And the drummer who was on the road at the time when they got me in the band, he was on the road with Was Not Was. And he came back and he goes, what's this Girl Thornetta thing? Just give her name, Thornetta Davis. Because I was like, whatever y'all want to call me, as long as you pay me, I'll do it, you know. So then they changed the name to the Chisel Brothers featuring Thornetta Davis. And then we started winning awards every year at the music awards and best blues singer, blah, 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 you know. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, and I started digging through my mom's records to get repertoire. And then I started really loving the genre of music because it felt like me. It's like God led me to that music, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And because it's a truth telling, it's a storytelling. And I was, like I said, I was a single mom with no money. And it told my story, you know, of relationships that I'd been through. And I would only pick songs that I could really relate to, you know, if I went something like that. You know?
So you're a lot like me. I love to have songs that make me feel. And a couple of yours do. I Believe, Am I Just a Shadow?
Oh, yeah.
Those are two of my favorites off of your album. Your incredible singing talents have been featured on everything from the Michigan State Lottery to the Detroit Pistons to the HBO hit The Sopranos. But you've also done work with Bob Seger and little Steven Van Zandt. It sounds like you really had some fun along the way, yes?
Oh, yeah. I just happened to be in New York at the time with Steven Van Zandt. He was producing a group called Majek Vashek and the Soldiers of Conscience. They were from Nigeria.
Okay.
And the booking agent who booked me came and told me, hey, they need a background singer. Would you like to go and audition? And so I went and auditioned. Next thing I know, I'm recording on their album. And Steve Van Zandt is the producer. So we had a good couple of days together in the studio with him.
Nice.
Worked with Bob Seger. I'm on at least 3 of his albums, just singing background tracks, you know. And that all started from them hearing about me. The Chisel Brothers was a well-known group of guys. So when I started working with them, that's the first time I was even exposed to hanging out with white people in the city of Detroit. And they had already had a fan base. And all of those people were the ones that started coming to see me, and they was the hot ones hiring me to sing on their background tracks.
Wow. Well,
Mhm.
Thornetta, you've shared the stage with the likes of B.B. King, Ray Charles, Etta James, and Coco Taylor, just to name a few. But I wanted
Mhm.
to ask you to share your story about opening for Bonnie Raitt at the Ann Arbor Blues and Jazz Festival in '92. Now, you were already making a name for yourself, but that must have been a real pinch me moment, yes?
Yeah, it was. Bonnie, at that time, she had just won her Grammys, and at that time I was in my 30s. So I was thinking getting into the music business after your 20s, you're old, and it's going to take a lot to try and get that level that you want to get to in your 30s. Because at that time,
Sure.
they were thinking about like, you're too old to be in this game. But then I saw Bonnie. And she's in her 40s at that time, winning all her Grammys and all these hit songs, and I'm loving all of her music. And then I get a chance to open for her. I was on heaven. And then I was sharing a room with her touring mate, Katie Webster. And Katie and I were just laughing it up and, having a good time in our dressing room. And in walks Bonnie. My mouth dropped. I'm like, I cannot believe I'm standing here in front of Bonnie Raitt. Yeah, and Katie Webster, my idol. She's right here. And then she goes, "Oh, I like what you got on. I just bedazzled this vest." She goes, "I got to go change my clothes now because I got to bedazzle myself like you." And she goes, "Would you like to sing a song with me in my encore?" And I said, "I can't believe this." So she got me up during her encore to sing a song with her. I don't remember the song.
Wow.
I remember being in awe of the whole
Now,
experience.
and that brings up the next question. Have you ever caught yourself outside of that moment when you're opening for somebody and you step off the stage and then you just kind of stand back and watch them do their thing? That must
Mhm.
really be a surreal feeling for you.
It was so surreal. I was in heaven. Yes. The same thing with Etta James. I'm opening for Etta, and I didn't get to sing with her, but I stood off to the side of the stage after my performance and just watched her go. The
Hmm.
same thing with BB King. You know,
I'm getting goosebumps over here.
I got to open for BB, and BB called me out on stage after not to perform, but just to
Wow.
say, "Give it up for this young lady right here." And he
Hmm.
had just had his 80th birthday, and I bent over and kissed him on the cheek, and he go, "Ooh, you pretty. I'm 80. I ain't dead yet."
See that poster? See that poster right there?
Yeah.
That is from his 80th birthday tour from
Wow.
2006.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or, I'm sorry, 2003. 2003.
So cool. It
Yeah.
was so cool.
Tell him about the
That is awesome.
gold
Now,
chain.
Oh yeah, he at one time he was passing out gold chains with the charm on them and everything.
uh-huh.
This is the second time I opened up for him. And I wanted one of them so bad that I'm seeing him just tossing them out to the audience. And so this was at the Fox Theater in Detroit. I'm standing there going, "I want one." And he didn't hear me. He getting ready to toss out the last one. So I run out on the stage. The audience go, "Woo!" And he had one guy who looked older than him standing there holding on to his wrist like, "Oh, you gonna shoot me?" He was his old bodyguard or something. And he looked at me. I said, "BB, can I have one?" And he goes, "Sure, darling." And he just gave me the one he had in his hand.
Oh, wow.
He was cool.
Well, you are listening and watching Time Signatures with Jim Ervin. My very special guest is Detroit's Queen of the Blues, Thornetta Davis, and her husband, James. And we got to talk about the band a little bit for a minute here.
Yeah.
These are some of the most fun musicians that I've ever seen on stage. And there seems to be a really solid chemistry between all of you, not just one or two of you. But how long have they been with you? And talk about that chemistry for a minute.
Well, some of them have been with me for 20 years, and some of them were for 5 years.
Okay.
Um, I always say that all the musicians who ever play with me are all my band members. They just go in and out. They're all great musicians. There's people on the album like Brett Lucas, who has been on the road with Betty LaVette. He's not playing with me currently, but Carlton Washington stepped in for him, and he's been with me ever since Brett went on the road with Betty. And then there's Philip Hale on keys. He's been with me for the last 20 years or more.
Okay.
Dave Marcaccio, the same thing. Bass player, they're interchangeable because they always end up going on tour with somebody big and famous. So I have Jim Simonson right now.
Okay.
I've had Chuck Bartels and who else? Joe Veloz. Yeah, Joe Veloz went out on the tour with me for the last couple of years, and he went out on the road with Larry McCray right now.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Detroit musicians are the best, and
Now,
I'm blessed to be able to have them.
now we can't forget the other member of your band, the guy sitting behind you,
That's my
your husband, James. He plays a pivotal role in every performance. Now, the first time I saw you two dance during your song "Honest Woman," it was one of those in the feels moments
Honest
for me.
Woman.
Or
Yeah.
Honest Woman. What did I say? I'm sorry.
Woman, it's okay.
I'm an honest woman.
Yeah.
It's honest woman.
But I love the connection and the heartfelt emotion that you two have while you're doing that dance. And it's like, even though it's planned, it's not something that's contrived. It comes across very, very real.
I look forward to dancing with him every time I perform this song. Sometimes, I end the show with I like to end the show on fast songs. But then when they look at me and go, "You got one more song," I feel like I'm getting my dance. I'm sorry. So I'll end the show on Honest Woman. And if they have an encore, that works out good. But sometimes it just ends on Honest Woman, which I feel that I'm letting them know love exists here in this space, in this room, and we want to show it.
And it does. It comes across as very genuine. And, James, I know that's got to be a thrill for you to have that to look forward to each performance. Yes?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was going to mention about how it came to be.
Mm-hmm.
Please, yeah. I that's what I'm here for, is to get these stories. So go ahead.
You dispel a couple of rumors, man.
Sure.
It wasn't because of some other. No, what happened was she wrote that song for our wedding reception.
Oh, wow.
Well, I performed it for the wedding reception. I remember. Let me tell it, because he don't remember the whole thing.
Yeah.
We were in the kitchen talking. And I said, "Honey, you done made an honest woman out of me." Just like that, And I went, "Ooh, that's a song." And the song was written in less than 10 minutes.
Oh, my goodness.
I just wrote about how I felt. I had my share of temporary love. Never thought I'd find the one I've been dreaming of. Late at night when I needed someone to hold, I just called Mr. Good Time to take away the cold. But one night stands ain't never been my cup of tea. But what's a girl to do when love is all she needs? And I thought about when James came along in my life. I had just gotten out of a bad relationship, didn't want to go there no more, got tired of the knuckleheads, and I took responsibility for the fact that I was accepting a lot of it. And once I stopped accepting that, that's when I said, okay, now I know what I don't want. And the next person that comes along who enters in my life, he's got to bring some love, some peace, and some joy. And he has to have been through his troubles too and come up out of it. And that's exactly what James came in,
Yeah, she had to be totally honest with herself.
Mm-hmm. He had to be honest with me.
Yeah, honest woman. That's came about. So at our wedding, we got married at Hart Plaza in front of thousands. So at our wedding reception, that was our first dance.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was our first dance. So in honor of love, we call it a day of love. The day we got married.
Yeah.
And
people at Hart Plaza were like, "Is this real?"
In honor and respect of love, we give honor to that song, which is which I think is musical therapy,
Mhm.
but it's a song about two people falling in love, and we all have our own issues and moments and things like that. But if you
Sure.
can look inside the person behind all that and fall in love with that, then the rest will fade away.
Mhm.
But
Man.
she wrote that song, like you say, actually she spit it out, gave birth to it, and and then she sang it to me that when I'm like, wow. So sometimes there is a song that's in you that has to come out. It
That's how
has
I
to
Yeah.
come.
felt.
Oh, yeah.
After I wrote it, I said, "This is the title track of the album."
Yeah. And so one of the best compliments that I've had or heard her get was this guy come to me and said, "I'm gonna go home and dance with my wife."
Very
And and
cool.
and and that's what we hope that people would do. It would bring them closer together.
Mhm.
Yeah. And as I said, it comes across as very genuine and not contrived. I mean, and that's something you can't fake. You can't do it.
Yeah.
No.
But
So,
as we come to the close on the interview here, I want to ask you, Thornetta, what's next? You got any new musical projects you're working on? What's coming up for you?
I am writing. I got a bunch of songs. I'd like to get into the
woo,
studio. I haven't gotten in the studio yet, but I am writing, and I'm just mulling over in my mind who I want to work with, and I got some
Hmm.
great ideas, and it's a different process than it was the last time. The last time I had the group of people who I work with all the time, and we just worked out the music that way. But this time I would like to work outside of Michigan-based artists, people that I'm meeting when I go to the blues foundations and
Sure, sure.
talk to some of them. They said yes. So it's about getting that time together. Also, this summer I'm going to be doing a lot of gigging. Stuff is already starting to fill up my calendar. Right before I got on with you, somebody from France was like, "We want you for these 3 dates," and I'm going to Italy this summer. And
Wow.
yeah, so we're getting
Wonderful.
some things happening. Yeah.
Very nice. All right. Where can we get more information on Thornetta Davis? We want to buy CDs. We want to
Yeah.
get touring information, booking information. Where do we go for this?
You can go to thornettadavis.com. You can get my CD on amazon.com. And you can download it on all the social links, that you buy music from. And you can hit me up on my website and email me something. I always answer.
And you can get one of these awesome posters that hangs behind me here. I've got
That's right.
made,
yes, I see it. Yes.
Yes,
made sure I told you I was going to put one in my studio. Well, I did. Well, Thornetta Davis, James, thank you so much for joining us on Time Signatures. My best
Thank you.
wishes on your continued success, and we certainly look forward to seeing you on the road again soon. That wraps up another edition of Time Signatures with Jim Ervin. I want to thank Thornetta for her time and also want to thank you for taking time to watch and to listen. Jim Ervin reminding you that keeping the blues alive, well, that's everybody's job, but preserving the history of the blues one story at a time, that's my mission. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
This has been Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan. For more information on cabs, visit capitalareablues.org. You can find this episode and past episodes at lccconnect.org. The Time Signatures theme song, Michigan Roads, is used by permission and was written by Root Doctor, featuring Freddie Cunningham.
I'm crying, baby, driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
Until next time, keep on keeping the blues alive.